Ladies and gentlemen, this is part of my Save THORnews for October monthly economic update that I do at the beginning of the month. And so, as of the recording of 6:43 p.m. October 2nd, I got $437 to raise in about 41 hours. And I got an address you can send a snail mail to. It'll be in the information box. And I got a PayPal, a Venmo, a CashApp, and a Patron. So all contributions and donations to keep THORnews up and running would be greatly appreciated. And you may be saying, look, dude, why the hell would I want to take financial advice from a guy who depends on contributions every month? And usually it goes down to the wire, you know? And yeah, that is a great question. But as a Sagittarius, I always seek after the truth, and my understanding of finance comes from trying to bring about 1,000 years of world peace and getting the world to work together and getting beyond our forever petroleum and war and deception ways that we've been stuck in for at least 150 years, right? And so the main reason I've been trying to figure this all out is for the benefit of me and everybody on the planet, including the animals and the planet itself. And so a lot of times I pick up on things that people don't, because they're looking at it like, how do I make money? I'm usually looking at it like, okay, how do I save the world and understand the main mechanisms that drive our entire global economy. Okay, and so sometimes it gets so simple, anybody can figure out if that's what you're trying to do. And remember, most of the times in economics, the best information is not going to be doled out to the public on all those fancy channels that cover finance and stuff. Okay, what we're looking at is the spread between the 2-year and the 10-year treasury. Is it a bond? Is it a yield? What? Okay, so you can see that this is about the level we're at now. The last time we were at this level was around the 2006, 2007, when Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns bells started to go off. The crash of 2000 of the dot-com bubble, when they popped the bubble saying, yeah, the internet's not going to be that pets.com fantastic. And of course, that wasn't true. And it skyrocketed. And then the last one was the great crash of the 80s. It came up with Black Monday. And this seems like a pretty good indicator, if you ask me. Yeah, we got a crash coming, bro. When? I can't tell you. I'm just almost sure that it is coming. And so here's what I think is going to happen. I think within the next 2 years, we are going to get a major crash in the markets, which will then propel all central banks across the globe to start a quantitative easing program. I know the UK and the EU Union has some quantitative easing going on right now, but the Federal Reserve has the biggest liquidity machines known to man. Seeing that the petrodollar is the global reserve currency, officially, unofficially. And so another thing is, one of the things that got me into the truth game was I read Nostradamus and then read about hyperinflation, and that was in like 2006. And then so I could see the 2008 crash coming. And then since then, it's been a roller coaster ride. And so I think, this is a double top here. You got top 1, top 2, and then it's going down. And so I think we'll see Bitcoin hit $4,000. And if a crash I'm talking about really happens, I think you could see Bitcoin drop anywhere from 1,000 to like $100, So, well, my main point being is that with the compounding debt of interest across the globe, they have to continue to print money to stay ahead of the curve. And then on that same note, they are fighting a hyperinflationary beast. Now, cryptocurrencies allows them to buy more time, but when that happens, nobody knows. And remember, there have been 33 fiat currencies throughout the history of mankind. Technically, all currencies have failed at some point because the kings or the banks or somebody prints way too many of them. And so what is the number that would cause all currencies to explode in a hyperinflationary event? I don't know. I bet somebody out there does. But it seems like our national debt situation and our global debt situation has been expanding at increasing rates, definitely since the 80s and then since the 2000s. And so basically, just to keep up with the compounding interest that's on all debt worldwide, they have to keep printing money. And the old school, and I do my due diligence. And so I used to read all the economy books from like the 20s and 15 and the 30s. And they used to consider any time any money is put into the system in any form, that is inflation. Although that's not what they say in school today. But so we're battling a lot of beasts here. And if you were to have a global reserve currency collapse overnight, it would bring about a period of lawlessness unlike this world has ever seen. So that's been one of Asteroid Flight Club's main missions, to avoid that shit, you know? So what I'm saying is, our president has said, hey, can you just give me quantitative easing now? And I can understand that, because it seems like then it would hold off the crash. You know, it seems like they're going to let the crash happen, and then they're going to step in and then print a lot of money, because volatility is where all the money is made. And so that is why another main point out of hurricane season of THORnews Asteroid Fight Club is that knowing they're going to print anywhere from $20 to $100 trillion or other currencies over the next 2 to 5 years, it's a good time for the public to get together and get a slice of that pie for new infrastructure, new energies, new cities. And there's so many things you could spend that money on good, you know, that would benefit us not only now, but long into the future. And, you know, we are still in the petroleum economy where we don't have any major solar, we don't have any major electromagnetic energy, you know, and I'm one of the many people who believes that Tesla gave us the power for world free energy, quote unquote, and that, you know, they are doing what they can to keep us on the old system. But at some point, it seems like that system would fall apart. And I know that the way the stock market is set up with all the energy companies and oil companies, that if oil ever drops below $46 a barrel for too long, it's almost like the whole economy implodes. So you see them do what they can to keep something that has a glut of supply over the $46 mark. You know, if that means you got to sink some ships or fly some drones into shit, you know, they're doing it. And so part of post 2008, and especially in the last years with Brexit and shit, has been to transition, in the grand transition, to go from the old system to the new system. But there have definitely been some rough rides, some bumpy rides, some hiccups, some stopgaps, and some Mexican standoffs along the way. It's getting everybody to work together for a future common goal has been dicey at best. But I'm still in the game. You're still in the game. We're all still here. And so I'm not going to lose faith, and I don't think you should either. But I'm just saying, from everything I understand, I see a crash coming. And remember, after the 2008 financial crisis, nobody got arrested except for Martha Stewart, I think Mark Cuban. But that was like the SEC going, hey, we're doing stuff. And so, you know, we have seen the expansion of the markets at unforeseen rates since that happened. And especially since Trump has taken office. But I just want to remind people, the markets are not the overall economy. That 60% of all the money has to go back into the majority of the public's hands to keep everything balanced and functional. If you get that out of balance, then it all breaks down. And so my whole point has been that until the crash comes, and I've said this for a couple of years now, it's that, we could see the markets fluctuate between anywhere between 23 and 27,000, right? Or the Dow Jones, it's just one market. And so that until there's a major quantitative easing program, I don't see this breaking past the 28,000 barrier anytime soon. And meaning it'll just fluctuate between those two things. Although through repo open market actions, I think the Federal Reserve has bought like $475 billion worth of open market stuff, bonds, treasuries, stocks, Bitcoin, whatever. They need to keep things flowing, if I understand that correctly. And that's like a 2-3 week period. And so if you spend $500 billion a month, that's like $6 trillion in a year. That's a lot of money, man. And that shows that we are seeing a lot of signs across the board of volatility. And America is just one country out of hundreds, like 182. So even if we were going great, and we're not, we got a 22 trillion 0.7 debt, like we are all interconnected after the whole 1999 thing and the big push to interconnect everybody. And so what I'm saying basically is, unless you love day trading, I don't really see a point to be in this market right now, knowing that we're pretty much waiting on a crash. When it's going to happen, I don't know. It could be tomorrow. It could be 2 years from now. But I'm pretty sure we got one coming. I would guess it'll definitely be before the election. Especially like the Brexit. What is Brexit even doing? They voted to leave the union. That was like 3 years ago. And then they're like, yeah, we don't know what we're doing. And then I want to remind you, before that, we had Grexit, where Greece kept almost defaulting on its massive debt. You had Italy almost default. They had to keep bailing out individual nations. And then once they did the Brexit vote, it's like that shit went away. And I don't think it went away. It just went under the table. And so what I'm trying to say here is that it doesn't look like there's a lot of upside in the near future until quantitative easing comes around. And so I wouldn't want to get caught holding the knife. Now, another reason I got into this is that in 2008, when I decided to go back to college for my second time, I took out my 401k. I worked for Borders Bookstore for like 4 or 5 years and maxed out my 401k contribution. And the thing is, I'd put in like $11,000. But when I pulled it out, A, you get penalties, but B, I got that $1,500 back. And so 401k is like the biggest scam ever. And then I looked to that giant pamphlet they sent me of the history of my 401k, and that the majority, I'm talking 80% of everything that was in my 401k was either Lehman Brothers bonds or Bear Stearns bonds. And then I found that Borders had bought a lot of its own stock as it was going out of business to prevent it from looking like it was going out of business. And so in a crash, a lot of people get caught holding the bag. And people could say, well, what would your portfolio have been worth if you hadn't pulled out? And I did the calculation. It wasn't that impressive. It still wasn't what I'd put in, because all the shit they bought was super underperforming the regular market. And so we are in, historic times. And so we have seen almost everything come off the double top. So we have at least a correction or a crash coming in the future. And that is, I don't know, it's one of the things about the political shit, man, where like our president keeps telling everybody that the economy is better than ever. I don't agree with that at all. And I don't know how you can have a $22 trillion debt. And I said this under Obama, and then say it's a strong economy. And I don't want to trigger people, because this isn't about politics. It's about economics and just disagreeing with what somebody else is saying. And so, that's what kind of things, I guess, Republicans and conservatives who believe him that the economy is stronger than ever are maxing out their 401ks, and they're in this market without a doubt, not worrying about it. And then the left, I don't know. It's like nobody really pays attention to economics, man. That's the thing. It's like when it comes to anytime the president even talked about quantitative easing, I never saw anybody on the left or anybody on the right outside of the financial circles even mention it. Like quantitative easing is one of the biggest drivers of our economy over the last decade. And the public is really not that informed on it. The same way they're not that informed on the double debt. Was it double bookkeeping? Where it's both a debt and an asset at the same time. Like how money is created. If you look into that shit, then you start to realize it's all a weird circle. And a lot of it is based on belief that the markets are based on emotions. If humans believe the economy is going strong, then it usually goes strong until it hits a wall. And so I'm just saying, most of the things we've seen over the last few months, and especially last years, and remember, it's not just America I'm talking about, it's everybody's just up to their eyeballs, if not beyond, in debt. And so I'm just saying, I would not be in the market now. I mean, it may have some surges, and who knows, it could even break 28 a little, but I'm saying until they start pumping a lot of money into this thing, which they're doing behind the scenes right now, but to do it on a mass scale, you'd have to do it through quantitative easing, I think. And so, the president's talked about it a couple of times. I think everybody knows that at some point they're going to have to do QE forever until the fiat currencies explode. And at that point, we should hopefully have a new system to where we can transfer to politely. I mean, you can't just say cryptocurrencies because you can't. You got to have, like, everybody's got to operate in it. You cannot let supply chains break down. There's no coming back from that. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't, with all the signs out, even in oil's hit its double top, copper, even like everything seems to be on a decline. And with the U.S. trade war not making any headway, with Russia and China, and then the Brexit fiasco, and then you got reports of the super richest people on the planet are hoarding all their cash and all their assets. Everybody's starting to get their powder dry. So that's all I'm saying is, it's kind of like when the markets crash, I would say right now the overall price of Bitcoin is probably 4,000. I think it will have long-term, quote-unquote, value. But you could see it drop to anywhere to 100 to 1,000 in a real crash. I mean, and that's the thing is, when a crash happens, everybody's so over invested into the markets, nobody's got cash on hand except for the very few people who saw it coming. So these are just my thoughts. Take them or leave them. Remember, I got to depend on your contributions, donations every single month to bring you the truth, but I do what I can the best. And so if you want to send me a letter, TLewison 5430 Birdwood Road, number 416, Houston, Texas 77096. I got a PayPal, Venmo, CashApp, Patron. I got $437 to go as of 7:04. The second, I don't know when I'll put this video up because my good mic's working and I may just record a bunch. $437 to go, 47 hours left. But I want to thank Kenneth, Lynn, CJ, Matthew, Brady, Kay, Kenneth, David, Robin, Carol, Brant, Casey, Elizabeth, and everybody out there who sent me good thoughts, good prayers, and anything. Thank you to Shelly. Thank you to Lynn. Thank you to George. Thank you to everybody, really. All right. And like I said, it would be great. I mean, that's why I don't like the idea of preparing for economic collapse. It's best to just prevent it and come up with a brand new system. The 150-year petro war system seems severely out of date. And yeah, I get they're going to ride it to get the last nickels out of it, but then what are we going to do after that? It'd be nice to start moving forward again as a civilization. So I love you. I love your family. I love your pets. I love all the animals. I love the planet. And I'm still here. You're still here. So that much is right with the world. God bless everyone. Stay cool. And I'll talk to you in the future. Let us live long and prosper together. And may the force be with us always.